Okay, so it is, we are recording the session and we will post it on my UNISA this afternoon. As I mentioned in the announcements on my UNISA, this is a live question and answer session. In other words, you should come prepared with questions so that myself and Zunisani can answer it for you. So this is an opportunity to come forward with anything that you still might not be sure of, with then the aim of us trying to steer you in the right direction. I'm going to switch off my camera now. I know that it sometimes takes up some bandwidth for some students. So I will just have the mic on. What I'm asking is that you just put up your hand or type in the meeting chat if you don't want to ask a question directly. Meanwhile, I am going to look at the two questions that are currently in the chat while you are thinking of your particular questions. So, Ms. Kutsia, you ask, can you please confirm the word count for 10-point questions as well as for 20-point questions? We do not have a set word count for questions. It is your prerogative to realize whether you have written enough information, and I know that is that can be tricky. In general, we go for 10 facts or 10 pertinent pieces of information per point. So that should give you a general idea of how much you should write. I can say, for example, however, with your introduction and your conclusion, and I discussed this with the students last week as well, for an introduction and a conclusion, we generally expect you to write about a third of a page, or type a third of a page. Your introduction and your conclusion, and just a reminder, I'll get back to word count now. Your introduction and conclusion, you're not writing a general introduction or a general conclusion for the exam portfolio. You will see that both of the questions in the exam portfolio require you to write an introduction and a conclusion. In your introduction, you will comment on the overarching theme of each particular question, and then you will explain to the marker what you are going to do in this particular question. So you will say that in this question, we are looking at international news media, for example, but we will be focusing on the issue of diplomacy as well as the use of social media, and we will be looking at particularly the case of US President, blah, blah, blah. So that is sort of a general idea of how you will write an introduction. Your conclusion will echo your introduction. So this is where you are, in other words, ending off that particular assignment question. So you will be reviewing what you have done up to that point. So your introduction and your conclusion are the bookends to the content of your question. I have received some questions about how to structure your assignment. Both of the questions ask that you write essays, and you are more than welcome to write a traditional essay, introduction, body, conclusion, but we have provided you with numbering. Numbering makes it easier for you to structure your work. It makes it easier for you to structure your table of contents, and it makes it easier for the markers to find the relevant information. But it is your prerogative to decide whether you want to write a traditional essay or whether you want to use the numbering that we have provided for you. Remember that your table of contents need to reflect the structure that you have chosen for the two questions. So if you have written a traditional essay, you will have question 1, 1.1 introduction, 1.2 body, 1.3 conclusion. But otherwise, you can stick to the numbering, and each number will not have the whole every single word of the question. You will need to decide what is the main theme of that question, and you will provide a short heading for that. Okay. Then, Ms. Kutse, your second question was, Explain whether it was it says explain whether it was appropriate for President Donald Trump to share information about new tariffs via social media. You ask, do we need to agree or disagree with the appropriateness of the question, or can we state both? I'm going to leave this over. Dunisani, since this is your question, I think you can maybe answer. You will maybe be able to provide the best answer if you can maybe just answer Ms. Kutsia's question there. Just you are muted, Dunisani.
Yeah. I'm not sure. Maybe the updated version, does it look like that one or the 1.3 in that site?
I'm going to quickly just give me a moment. Yes. Let me just quickly share the one that was with the that was incorporated with the comments from our external examiner. I'm just going to quickly share my screen. Just give me a moment. Sorry about that. I'm just looking for the correct screen here. There we go. So there we go. In which situations can the government or the president use social media platforms? Explain whether it was appropriate to share information about new tariffs via social media.
Yes. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, my name is Junisani Timbane, as my colleague have said. So that question, it actually requires you to go and read and check the proper channels where the government can share information about certain things or different things. And the first part of the questions, it requires you to go and research or find out in which situation where the government can share information on the social media. So you need to go and check, or maybe here in South Africa, if there was a point or situation where the government was sharing information, you can use that as example. And then with that in mind, while you are still reading that, it will be in certain situation. Then you need to also decide based on what the President of United States shared, that it was appropriate or not appropriate for the president to share information about the new tariffs on social media. I think maybe to give you a clue, there is a way in which one government communicate to the other government. So you need to go and find out about that certain way. And then the answer is just behind this way of doing things between one government to another. I wonder if I responded to your question, because I'm just careful. I don't really want to give the answer, but I'm just giving you clues on how you need to on what you need to think about while you are responding to this question.
Okay. Thank you, Dunisani. Okay. Dunisani, will you just check there in the meeting chat? I see there are more. So as they come in, you can maybe just jump in. Students, are there any other questions that you might want to raise your hand for, that you might have regarding either the content of question 1 or question 2?
1.4 as well. So also with 1.4, it says, considering the news article provided, critical discuss the term that describes the formal channel of communication in which representatives of two countries meet to discuss their relations. Your discussion can include the type of communication channels and practical example of these communications. So if you check 1.4, it's actually continues from 1.3. So if you have read the article, there is somewhere where President Ramaphosa says, we are happy now, the discussion is no longer on social media, but proper negotiations are happening. So actually, we are looking for the term from you after reading the study material, especially I believe it's chapter 7 or learning unit 7, where they discuss the issue or what is happening here, where one country communicate with another, the issue of international relations. So you need to find out the formal negotiation, and when one country communicate with another, what do we call that? And we have different types of such situations. And you also need to include practical discussions. So it's this case study, it's also your learning material. We are trying to check whether you can remember what you have read, and can you also apply it now when we want you to apply what you have read.
Okay, thank you very much. Ms. Kutsia, maybe you should just come on and ask, because you say that you the question the answer to question 1.3 didn't really help. Please explain what exactly it is that you are still uncertain about. Do we need to reference practical questions? Um, if you are going to provide information from social media, yes, you are going to have to reference. Unless everything is your original thought. Okay, I understand that you can't participate during the call. Maybe you can just then type out for us exactly what you mean. What else do you need assistance with regards to question 1.3? Whether it was with regards to word count, whether it was regards to actually question 1.3. Yes, so just sorry to interrupted myself there. Do we need to reference practical questions? If you're going to provide examples, those examples are from somewhere. So yes, you will need to reference them.
Or
And I
Martina,
think
maybe
this,
if I can
yes,
intervene.
yes,
So with 1.3, it requires
mm,
somebody to go and do research.
yes,
And part of the research, what somebody can look for, you need to look for, you can go specific, like in which situation where the government or the president can share um, information on the social media. And then you can also look for maybe instances where the government or the presidents have once shared, or they have shared information on the social media. We do have those things. Unfortunately, I can't give out answers, because if I tell you the answer, this assessment
exactly,
will be
yes.
useless. But I
Okay,
just want somebody to go and look for that. So that's what you should be looking for. And the information is there, and you're going to find the information. And we had several situations, either here in South Africa or in other countries, where there were situations where we saw a government or the president sharing information on the social media.
yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Thank you. While Ms. Kutsia is typing, okay. Then I would just like to quickly address, I use numbering, but did not include questions at all. Is it okay? I would advise you to edit. I take it you are referring to your table of contents and then your headings. You have to have headings. You cannot only have numbering. You will see that also from your tutorial letter, CMN All 301. So if you can edit that table of contents and edit the content, that would be a great idea, because you will lose marks. It won't be substantial, but you will lose marks for your technical presentation. I think on that point, it is a good idea to just remind you the importance of technical presentation, students. 10 marks out of 100 is 10%. You do not want to lose that 10%. Additionally, please remember that you are no longer including the plagiarism declaration. You are including the AI declaration, which is so if you have submitted without that, also please make sure that you include that. I will post it again on my UNISA. We are taking the unethical use of AI very seriously. And please note that I am saying the unethical use of AI, because there's been a lot of discussions about we do not want to, we can't tell students not to use generative AI at all, but it needs to be done in an ethical way. And the ethical declaration, or the declaration on the ethical use of AI, allows you to explain to us, if you did use generative AI, how you used it. Did you use it for brainstorming? Did you use it for planning? You may not use it to write your essay. You can use Grammarly, for example, to check your language. Once again, you will need to state that. We have very advanced ways of picking up on the unethical use of AI. If you do not include your AI declaration, you will not receive any marks for your technical presentation. So that is 0 out of 10 for technical presentation. If you are found guilty of using generative AI unethically, then unfortunately, you will not receive any marks for your exam portfolio. And just a reminder, because it is an exam portfolio, there is no supplementary opportunity. You need to pass in combination with your year mark. Otherwise, you will need to redo the module completely next year. There is no supplementary opportunity for the exam portfolio. So please don't use AI unethically. You are at the university for a reason. It is to learn to think, to learn to integrate sources, to learn how to read, to learn how to understand. And that is something that a lot of generative AI is taking away from us. So please, yes, there are instances where using generative AI is completely fine. And as I've mentioned, using something like Grammarly, that is completely in order. But still, you will need to complete the AI declaration, whether you are using AI or not, and make sure that you are using AI ethically. Okay, I am not seeing any more questions in the meeting chat. Is there anyone else that have a question that would like to raise their hand? Otherwise, anyone who, yes, Molly, you can go ahead, switch on your mic.
Good day, everyone. I need to ask about the introduction and conclusion. So since we have two introductions from two questions, so there's no need for us to write introductions and conclusions on their own pages.
No, there's no need to do that. Your introduction and your conclusion is part of your essay question for each of the two questions. So the next information, say for example 1.2, will follow directly on from 1.1 on the same page.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions at this point? Okay, I hope this session was helpful for those students who were still unsure about content, about how to answer questions, about how to structure their exam portfolio. I see there's just one more question being typed. Let's give it a moment. But yes, you still have a day and a bit to complete your exam portfolio. We are online. Send us through your questions via email. Please do not use the toggle messaging system. So yes, please send us an email. We know that this is the final stretch for the year for COM3705. So we will get back to you to answer. Font and size, students, you are not going to be, the general rule of thumb is Arial or Times New Roman 12 for the body or for the content. You may go up to 14 for headings. This is not something that we are going to be extremely strict about. That it can sometimes be, sometimes a bit nitpicking. There are general technical presentation requirements that we are very strict about. But yes, if you want to stick to it, Times New Roman or Arial 12, and then in general 1.15 spacing. Single spacing is sometimes very difficult to assess, especially on screen. So either 1.15 or 1.5 spacing. I hope that is clear. Okay, well, since we do not seem to have any more question at this moment, I will then say that this session is complete as soon as the recording has Buffett, I see one more typing. Okay, yes, great. As soon as the recording is available, I will put that up on my UNISA. Best of luck with the final few hours that you have to prepare your assignment. Best of luck with the rest of your examinations. I know that several of you are writing exams over the course of the next 2 to 3 weeks. We appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedules to attend today's session. And once again, just to reiterate, we are online. Please send through your questions if there are any other questions that you might have via email, and we will get back to you as soon as possible. Zunisani, thank you for joining me today. And for all the students, goodbye. Have a very productive and fruitful rest of the week.
All right, bye-bye.
Goodbye.